What's going on, 49er faithful, 49er fam, 49er gang? This is your boy, Niner Gang Podcast, a.k.a. 49er Dion here, back in the building. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything San Francisco 49ers. With that being said, let's get right on into it. How you doing, 49er Chanel? This is the preview show for us versus the Colts. Now, I did tell you guys that I was going to be bringing on a special guest. Like to go ahead and do crossover shows and be able to bring in other fan bases so they can explain their side of things as we as 49er fans love to explain our side of things. He is from the Bring the Juice podcast. His name is Cody Felger. Let's welcome him in. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I saw you guys on YouTube, man, and then I decided to look you up on Twitter there and send the old invite just to like to go ahead and make sure that I, speak to the opposition, so to speak, in the way to get things rolling. So I see you guys just came off of a nice little win, albeit against the Houston Texans. A win is a win at this point. You got to take what you can get. Colts currently stand at 2-4. The 49ers stand at 2-3. We are coming off a bye week and coming off a little bit of a quarterback controversy. We have Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, and right now it looks like Jimmy G is going to be the guy. So for you guys, I did just see that Jacob Eason got claimed by the Seahawks. So who is your backup quarterback outside of Mr. Wentz there?
Yeah, so right now it is Brett Hundley, I guess, is the backup right now. And then they just actually brought up Sam Ehlinger, their 6th-round pick this year from Texas. So they like those guys quite a bit. Obviously you don't want them to play, but they like them quite a lot. So those would be the two guys, say Wentz gets hurt or whatever. Those would be the two guys you'd be looking at. Oh,
okay, that's cool. Well, I know Brett Hundley. I'm originally from LA, so I'm a UCLA guy. So I know all about Hundley. I know he spent his time with in Green Bay over there backing up old A-Rod, and then he seems to have bounced around a little bit. And Ehlinger, I know about him. He was from Texas, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Texas quarterback. Yep. All right. So, first things first, man. How do you feel about your season so far? I know it's probably the weirdest injury ever. Carson Wentz sprained both his ankles. We all looked and were like, I don't know how you do that. But how do you feel about your season so far and the direction of your team?
Yeah. So first off, obviously 2-4. You don't like that record. You would like to be 4-2, if not better. And the crazy thing is, man, the Colts very easily could be 4-2. And we could be talking about a whole different Indianapolis Colts team right now. They've been in pretty much every game they've played up to this point. And the problem has just been the injuries first off. The Colts were missing so many guys. Wentz was coming off of that foot injury that he had, that kind of freak thing with the coming out of missed pretty much all training camp, all preseason, stuff like that. Then you have, guys like Quentin Nelson going down for multiple weeks. You have, T.Y. Hilton not coming back until last week. And then the Colts just lose Paris Campbell. It just seems like the injuries never stop with this team. But overall, I think the good news, if you're a Colts fan, is that you've gone through the gauntlet, right? You've gone through the hardest stretch of your schedule, playing the Seahawks, playing the Rams, playing the Ravens, even playing the Titans once. And to come out 2-4, I don't love it, obviously, but I do like that, the Colts were in every game and they were at least competitive. So I think for that reason, I'm cautiously optimistic about this team moving forward, especially now that Wentz is all healed up, like you talked about. And it seems like the Colts are actually able to protect him now, which they definitely could not do for the first couple weeks of the season.
Well, that is good. Injury riddled, you preach to the choir here, brother. We are all 49ers, man. We had the most money on IR last year. Literally the most money on IR, which is not a good thing. You never want the top half of your cap space sitting down because they can't get on the field. They're injured for whatever reason. And the other thing, is T.Y. good to go?
It's to be determined. He didn't practice today, but he's gone actually before. Hasn't practiced all week and he's played. So I think the Colts will know a little bit more tomorrow as to his status for Sunday, but I would feel like if he can go, he's going to go. That's just kind of what Ty does, and he seemed pretty chipper and stuff, at the end of the game. So I don't know. We'll see, but I think the Colts definitely need him to go. Will he go? That's a big question mark right now. I think that's the biggest injury question going ahead of this week. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, who are your receivers outside of T.Y. Hilton? I am not very familiar with the Colts. I do not mean that to come off as disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. I am just asking, who are your go-to guys? Because there's got to be another guy since T.Y. has been down for a while. Who's that dude that stepped up and said, I'm going to be the guy since T.Y. isn't around right now?
Yeah, the main guy is Michael Pittman. He was an early second-round pick in 2020. Had a decent rookie season. Had a kind of freak injury as well that made him miss a couple games. He was he was inconsistent, I guess is the word for his rookie season. But the Colts have targeted him a ton with Ty being out, and he's really delivered. He's been really, really fantastic for what the Colts want from a wide receiver. He's got that combination of size and speed that you like to see. And then also Zach Pascal's kind of stepped up in that role. He's going to have to now, especially because the Colts had Paris Campbell, who just got injured and was placed on the IR. So Zach Pascal now is going to have to take a bigger role. And they have some other random guys. They have Mike Strawn, who they drafted in the 7th round this year. He's been a healthy scratch the last couple of weeks, but now you do wonder, with this recent injury, if he's going to be asked to play a little larger role in this offense. And the Colts actually signed Kiki Cutie, if you know that name, from the Houston Texans to their practice squad. Now we'll see if they promote him or not. They also have some internal guys that they like. So I think the Colts don't have necessarily like a stud wide receiver. I think Michael Pittman's probably the closest thing to that. But they do have some guys who are consistent on that team, especially if T.Y. can go. You feel pretty good about your top 3 receivers. And as far as like tight ends go, the Colts have Jack Doyle. He's always reliable. They have Mo Alley Cox, who physical freak. I mean, he's like 6'6", 6'7", like 280 pounds. Dude has an insane wingspan. And the Colts have started to use him a little bit more. So he's definitely a red zone threat if the Colts decide to use him. For some weird reason, the first couple weeks, they just didn't use him, and it was really puzzling. But they have him. And that's really about it for their receiving guys who could actually produce so far. But, there are some guys who I think maybe haven't seen enough playing time yet that may now, with this opening at wide receiver, get a chance.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about that stud of a running back you got, man, Mr. Taylor. That young man, boy. The funny thing is, I'm watching our pressers for today, and Fred Warner brings him up, and he says, funny story. I played him in college. I was a sophomore. I think he said he was a sophomore or senior, and he was a freshman. And Taylor ate them alive for about 250. So it was Wisconsin versus Penn State. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, man, that's not the story you want to tell about this young kid. He'd already been lighting the league up. I don't want him going for 250 on our defense. And mind you, we haven't allowed an actual 100-yard running back individually throughout this season. We have allowed over 100 yards rushing in several of our games, but we haven't allowed a 100-yard back. Talk to me about Mr. Taylor, man, and how wonderful you guys feel about him, man, because if I had a stud running back like that, I wouldn't shut my mouth.
Yeah, man, he is amazing. He's an amazing running back. Everybody knows Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the best back in football. I mean, we could say that, but Jonathan Taylor, I think right now he's more efficient than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has almost double the amount of touches that Jonathan Taylor has. And Taylor's actually more efficient right now. So, I mean, what can you say about him? He only had 14 carries. Literally in the second half alone, last week against the Texans, he had 139 yards rushing. And he had 2 or 3 yards rushing in the first half. So if the Colts decide to feed him a lot, he could easily go 450, 200 yards. He is a stud, man. I mean, holy cow. When they first drafted him, I remember everybody was a little bit confused because it was a surprising pick. Because, the Colts had Marlon Mack, and you're like, they're good at running back. They're not great, but they're good. But Taylor just takes it to the next level, man. I honestly think he's the best running back the Colts have had since Edgerrin James, and I'm not even kidding. He is that good of a player, and he can do just about everything for you. He can run it, he can actually pass block, and he can receive out of the backfield. So, I mean, yeah, to have that combination of size and speed, it's very rare in this league. And I love Jonathan Taylor, man. He's one of my favorite players. And he's consistently proven to be a top 5 running back, I think. I think he's solidified himself into that conversation now. And now the offensive line's starting to get healthy. I mean, he could even get scarier, man.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with you on that one, man. Jonathan Taylor, I love watching that kid because, the odd thing is what Kyle Shanahan gets praised for is that, any quarterback can thrive in his system. No, that's not the case. It's any running back. So Jonathan Taylor is a dual threat back. I've seen his numbers. And you imagine putting Jonathan Taylor into this type of system with the right kind of offensive line. Yeah, that's even scarier than what you guys are already doing over there in Indy. Flip it to the other side of the ball, man. You guys have one of our former defensive studs who I was not on board with leaving. I would have paid DeForest Buckner, and I would not have let him go and hang out in the blue and white and go to Indianapolis and do anything. And I would have let Armstead walk. That's just me. But, hey, organization made a decision. We got to roll with it. But I know you got DeForest Buckner. You got Darius Leonard. Malik Hooker, still one of your safeties, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
He actually left in free agency.
He did.
He's in Dallas now, yeah.
He's in okay, yeah, because I liked Hooker coming out of college, man. And when you guys picked him up, I said, as long as that dude's healthy, man, he can pick the ball off. He's a really good safety. Coming out of college, I kind of predicted him to be somewhat of a Ed Reed type, not fully there, but a poor man's Ed Reed. But talk to me about your defense outside of Defoe and Darius Leonard, man. Who are the other guys we need to be mindful of as far as 49er fans are concerned?
Yeah, I will say this: like the Colts have been very inconsistent on defense this year, very inconsistent. Last year, they started off super hot, to start the year. They were like one of the top defenses, started to fall off at the end of the 2020 season. But, this year the Colts, and I think to their detriment, let a couple guys go they probably shouldn't have let go. Justin Houston was one of the guys, and then also Danico Autry, who's now with the rival Tennessee Titans. But, yeah, as far as the team goes this year, they have Kwity Paye, who they drafted. He just came back. Hasn't really been that great of a pass rusher so far. I mean, he still is very young. He's very good against the run. But some guys, I guess, to be mindful of this team. You mentioned Leonard. You mentioned Buckner. Those are the two guys that everybody talks about. Kenny Moore is another name. He's a slot corner for the Colts, and honestly, he can do just about anything. He can, he can actually tackle. He can cover anybody, and he can actually send him on blitzes sometimes. So it's always want to keep an eye out for number 23 because he is a stud, man. Yeah, the Colts have Xavier Rhodes. He's kind of been up and down, so I feel like the 49ers probably will target him because, yeah, out of all the corners, he's been the most inconsistent so far. Colts have Rocky Sin, who they drafted. He's actually played pretty well this year. Everybody he's had an up and down career so far. But, yeah, Bobby Okereke, linebacker, he's pretty good. Like, I would say he's a pretty good linebacker. He's not Darius Leonard good at all, but I mean, he's solid. He's a guy he's a Mike linebacker just to watch out for. He's very athletic. Other than that, man, I mean, in terms of guys that are absolute studs, I mean, Grover Stewart's more of just that one tech, stopping the run. He's really good at that. But there's not a ton of guys, I would say necessarily that you're like, oh my word, DeForest Buck. Besides the two guys you talked about, you could maybe throw Julian Blackmon's name on there. He's actually the free safety who replaced Malik Hooker this year. And last year too, he's a stud. He's a playmaker. He had like 3 or 4 forced turnovers that won the game last year for the Colts. Hasn't had as much success, but he's still been very good. Corey Willis as well. He's more the strong safety, but he had a nice bounce back game. He struggled early. He had some injuries to deal with. So there's a couple names, but beyond those two guys, there's nobody that's just like, oh my word, we got to watch out for them.
I got you. So for us on offense, unfortunately, we're going to have to trot out Jimmy Garoppolo. They have this phantom injury with Trey Lance and his knee being sprained. After every game, everybody has some kind of hurting, some kind of ailment. I mean, you're banging bodies with human beings consistently, helmets, you're falling on the hard ground. everybody has some type of injury, some type of issue. Forever Faithful Podcast, how you doing, sir? So for me, on offense, to be honest with you, you're going to have to look out for the running game. You're going to have to be mindful of Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon. I expect them to be focal points of the offense. You definitely got to worry about Deebo Samuel. I would say you have to worry about Ayuk, but the issue is we haven't been targeting him lately. Haven't heard much on George Kittle. I do believe he most likely will be back. So if he's there, of course, Kittle is definitely a viable threat as far as the offense goes. If Jimmy Garoppolo is starting, I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Don't have to worry too much about our offense in the first half. We seem to be very stagnant. It's really hard to come on and talk to a fan about a game and have to know the realities of the pain that we are just enduring consistently, because our last few games we lost by 2 and we lost by 7 both times. We held the Cardinals, the number one offense in the league, for who scores 35 points a game in 17. We were beating them in almost every statistical category: time of possession, yards, all of that, and still couldn't find a W. Wound up, losing that heartbreaker to Green Bay. But, Aaron Rodgers just told the Bears last week, I own you. So
yeah,
you got to live with A-Rod, man. That guy is an amazing talent. On offense, those are the guys to look out for. Of course, I will say this. Any linebacker that has any reason to be rushing off the edge where Trent Williams is, I'm going to pray for him. The man has been ragdolling a lot of human beings this year, and it's extremely unfortunate for people. I mean, I know Derrick Henry's quick with his stiff arm, and he gives you a posterized moment. I ain't nothing like watching Trent Williams ragdoll a couple people, man. Dude has been awesome. Right side of the offensive line for us is where your pressure should come from. Daniel Brunskill and Mike McGlinchey have been a little suspect. McGlinchey is a liability, unfortunately, when it comes to our pass pro. He's a little bit better in run defense, but on offense, those are the guys. So what do you think of those offensive weapons? Do you really, as a defense, what's your initial idea of the 49er offense?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting unit because you just don't know what Jimmy G you're going to get from week to week. It seems like, from what I've heard, he's just kind of like a Matt option, and
he's an inconsistent quarterback.
yeah, for sure. And I don't know. I feel like you guys might have actually some success running the football. The Colts were really good last year stopping the run. They have not been nearly as good this year at stopping the run. I think they've really missed some of those guys who left in free agency. And I think there's actually, you guys could potentially expose them in the run game, The Texans were actually able to do that a little bit last week with David Johnson. Now, ended up not really mattering because the Colts, won by 20 points. But
yeah, they shellacked him. You guys smacked him in the mouth. But
but I am concerned that we're not going to be able to get pressure on the edge. Like, that's been an issue all year, and especially going against Trent Williams. I don't feel like there's going to be much pressure that you guys are going to be able to give up, even Mike McGlinchey, because the Colts really haven't been able to do anything, off the edge. DeForest Buckner, we know, is a force. I mean, he's going to continue to be a force. But that's where the Colts have really struggled, is that edge rush. More than anything on this team is the edge rush. And they even addressed it in the draft twice, and it's still an issue. And it's becoming a point where you're just like, okay, maybe we need to actually get somebody who's like a free agent next year who actually like has proven themselves, because like we keep drafting guys and nobody's really
working out.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's frustrating, but I think for you guys, for defensively, where you guys can attack on our offensive line is definitely at left tackle. Eric Fisher is our left tackle right now. He's still recovering from that torn Achilles, right? He's still not 100%. He's gotten a little bit exposed in the pass pro a little bit as well. I do hope, and I think the hope is, and the expectation is, that as he gets better, he's going to become better at that. But right now, I think you guys certainly have a great opportunity to get to Wentz on that left side. Now, maybe the Colts will bring in somebody to help him out. But, I mean, yeah, that's really the weakness right now for the Colts, is that left tackle position. So I really think you guys have a legit chance to start to get some pressure on Carson Wentz if Eric Fisher does not pick up his game here soon.
Definitely understand that, man. Yeah, and with our edge rushers, we've got Nick Bosa, we've got D Ford. D Ford has become more of a third down specialist due to his injury history, and we all have seen that play out throughout the years. It started back with the Chiefs. It's happened since he's been with us. But then we've got a couple other guys. You got DJ Jones in the middle. You've got Eric Armstead. And we've got a host of other guys. Hopefully Samson Ebukam can play. We get some guys coming off the edge and trying to give a little bit of pressure over to Carson Wentz and make sure that we make it not easy. The defensive backs for us, we'll have Emmanuel Mosley and Josh Norman out there. Norman has been getting penalized a lot because his style of play is, really up front. He's really a grabby type of corner where he likes to make contact. And, this is an offensive driven league right now. So pretty much, most of the penalties are going to come there. So on defense, that'll probably be where you guys can attack is that defensive backfield and, probably do that. We don't have K'Wan Williams in there at nickel. They've been playing, unfortunately, Dante Johnson, who I do not like at all. We've got a young kid, Diamadou Lenore. He's been relegated to special teams. I don't care for that because I think he was playing very well when he was in the game and he was doing his thing. We got a couple of young rookies, Talanoa Hufunga. He's been doing a couple of things for us, kind of at safety / linebacker. He's a little bit of a hybrid, comes out of USC. But, of course, our resident safeties are Tartan Ward, and they'll be there to do their thing, and they'll probably try to take on Doyle and get him covered up as best it can. But we're really probably hoping on that front four being able to create, some good pass rush. I know Quentin Nelson, man, that young man is a monster at guard. Probably best guard in the league. And those will probably be the defensive, guys that, we have to keep in line. You got to worry about Fred Warner. Of course, Azeez Al-Shaair has been a bright spot since Dre Greenlaw has gone down. He's been playing actually pretty well. He's looking, better and better each game. Of course, you got Fred Warner. So we've got our usual suspects there. So my next question to you would be, what's the game plan like? What do you think how do you feel you guys attack this defense?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. I think the Colts attack vertically. They attack in the passing game. Last 3 weeks, Carson Wentz has been, I would argue, one of the best quarterbacks in the league because, statistically, he has been. Like, he has one turnover this entire game, and you all know Aaron Donald very well. Aaron Donald was the reason why he turned that ball over, or he threw that pick. It was a really weird play. It was like kind of a play where Carson scrambles out and he kind of just pitches it, and before he knew it, Aaron Donald had blown up the play. So other than that, he has thrown 0 interceptable balls so far this year, which is incredible. Okay. So I do think if Ty does play, the Colts are going to try to attack this 49er secondary, like you said. And if they can hold up against some of these, you guys have a stud defensive line. If they can hold up against them, I really think they have a great chance, to really move on offense a lot. And I think that's the way they'll probably attack. Of course, they want to establish the run, but you guys said you guys have a pretty decent run defense from what you've told me. So I think Colts will try to establish the run. I do think maybe if their pressure gets big, they may use Nyheim Hines a little bit more. He's more of that pass catching back that they use, third down guy. He can kind of do about everything for you. And they may just try to get him the ball and get him in space. And he's a lot. Talk about Jonathan Taylor trying to take him down. Nyheim Hines is even shiftier than Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
So, he's a guy that hasn't really been factored in a whole lot this year so far. But when he is very, very good. He earned an extension this actually during the season, I believe it was. Definitely well-deserved. He's one of those guys that, you just love to have, and you want to have 20 Nyheim Hines on your team. He's just a really good guy, really good running back, and he can just do about everything. He handles more of that punt return for the Colts, but he's also a fantastic receiving back. So I think maybe they could use him a little bit more, especially if the pressure, starts to get Wentz a little bit, especially off that left side. So that's kind of what I think the Colts are going to do.
That's awesome. What's going on, Luke Luna? My guy Luke Luna is one of my listeners. He says he's tattooing right a client, but listening to the podcast. I appreciate that, man. Keep focus on that, man. Then we'll have one of those commercials where you're supposed to spell something right and you spell it wrong. Defensively, how do you attack? I mean, I've given you the keys. It's real simple. You can just attack that right side of that offensive line like a madman and put your pressure there. Left side is a little more solid, like in Tomlinson and Trent Williams are going to be a lot harder to get through than Dan Brunskill and Mike McGlinchey. What's really odd about Brunskill is he stops Aaron Donald. I don't know what it is or why it is or how it is. Every year we call him, we as 49er fans call him the Aaron Donald killer. For some ungodly reason, the man cannot stop basic everyday but when Aaron Donald comes to town, he seems to flip a switch and he just knows what to do. And that is a massive human being. I mean, one thing I've looked at over the years is the ESPN body issue. These dudes are giants.
Yeah.
And you, some of these people, I'm like, okay, you shouldn't even have abs. There's no way. It's too much of a human being. These dudes, you're too big. Aaron Donald's probably got 5-6% body fat, and it's like, how do you maintain that, man? Eating, nutrition, all kinds of stuff. But where's the defense ready to attack? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think you mentioned just attacking that side. I think if they can slow down the run game and force Jimmy G to throw it, that's kind of your game plan. That's your bread and butter. If you can force him to have to win you the game, I think the Colts can live with that. So I do think that's the way they'll go about it. I think they will definitely focus in on that 49ers run attack, do their very best to do that, force Jimmy G to kind of have to play hero ball a little bit. And if they can do that, I really think they have a good chance to force him to make some mistakes and really could create some turnovers. And if they could do that, I think they have a good chance to win. But yeah, it all comes down to stopping the run, which they have not really been that great at so far. So if they could just somehow, because it's weird because they have guys to do it. It's so strange that they're not doing it as well as they normally have. And they only lost a couple guys. I didn't know those guys were that pivotal to stopping the run. But I thought that the main guys that they had that were really good at it last year kind of stayed. So yeah, if the Colts can do that, I think that's the game plan as well, is just really getting after Jimmy G, making him uncomfortable, making him throw it a lot more than they run it, making him one-dimensional. If they can do that, I think they have a really good shot.
And see that right there, guys, if you guys are out there really paying attention and listening, a lot of my listeners are in and out because they're working or they catch me later. People know what Jimmy can do. If I was talking to this young man about Trey Lance, probably would have a lot of question marks. But Jimmy has given a sample size to the league and shown us what he is, what he can be. So basically, if they get over the middle and stop that, and they stop anything out in the flats, where are we going? What are we doing? It's going to be frustrating for us because we know Jimmy doesn't throw outside of numbers and or down the field. So for us, from an offensive standpoint, we want to run the ball. From a defensive standpoint, that young man at running back, he's going to be our focal point. We've got to stop him because the thing that I've seen with you guys is the minute he gets going, everything else opens up.
Yeah.
So if he starts running wild, we're going to focus in too much on that run game. And next thing you know, you're going to hit us over the top. Your pass game is going to start going. And you mentioned Pascal earlier. I like him. I actually like him. I picked him up for fantasy. He did all right for me. He hasn't been overly spectacular, but hey, when you need those, 5 to 10 points, man, you throw the guy in and he can do his job. How are you guys looking on special teams this year? I haven't really got a chance to ask that.
Yeah, it's a weird year for Colts special teams too. Actually, Rodrigo Blankenship, he's on IR right now. He got injured in that Baltimore game. This is what's so infuriating about this team. You talked about how, you guys lost by a couple points. Literally, if the Colts kicker doesn't get hurt and he makes like a couple field goals, that game is it's out of reach, But he missed a game. He missed one field goal to make sure it's secure, right? And then the Ravens went down and scored again. And then the Colts drove all the way down with time expiring, and he missed another field goal on top of missing an extra point. So it was just a debacle with him being injured. But the Colts brought in Michael Badgley. He was actually on their roster, I think, in 2018, and he looked pretty good overall in the first game. He made a field goal. He made his extra points. So I feel pretty good about him moving forward. I think he's an experienced kicker, and I feel like he's going to do the job fine. As far as everything else goes, I feel like the Colts have one of the best special teams units in the league. They, for whatever reason, no matter if the Colts are good or bad, their special teams are always good. They're always good. They have one of the best punters in the league in Rigoberto Sanchez. They have Hines, who I mentioned, who's a punt returner. He can take one to the house anytime he touches the ball, man. He is dangerous. He was the fastest back in the 2018 draft, so he's got some speed on him. They also got Isaiah Rodgers, who did more of the kick returns. He took one back last year against Cleveland. So, I mean, the Colts have some exciting guys for the first time, I think, in a long time, actually at the return game. And their kicker and punter are normally pretty consistent. So, normally special teams isn't the issue with the Colts, normally.
That's cool. That's cool, man. See, for us, special teams has been an up and down theme. We feel like we found a guy in Trenton Cannon. We have Travis Benjamin, who we don't use for special teams, that's his specialty. That's why we brought him in initially. I have no idea why they put him in the last game to stretch the field, and he never stretched the field at all. And we're rolling with Trenton Cannon. Robbie Gold's out, so we got Joey Sly. And then, as far as our puncher, Mitch Wisnowski, our good old Aussie, he's been looking fantastic, man. He's been making sure he keeps anything inside of the 10. And at the same time, man, he's a hard hitter. It's really hard to find a punter that you have to respect when you're running. Most of the time when you see the punter, you're like, it's just a punter. I'm not worried about this guy. You got to be worried about old Mitch Wish. I remember his first year in the league, he laid a smackdown on a returner. And the crazy thing is, he got penalized for it, but he goes to the sideline and everybody's congratulating him. I jumped up. I was watching it on TV and I was happy. I'm like, man, I ain't never seen a punter go out and lay a hammer down like that. I like that, and they gave him a penalty for it, because I guess they gave him helmet to helmet. But I mean, he was stout. He tackled him properly. But those Aussies play rugby, which is basically football without pads and different rules. So,
right.
They're pretty strong. But yeah, Trenton Cannon will probably be the guy that you got to look out for. They got Brandon Ayuk returning punts. He hasn't been as dynamic as he has been in college, because in college he was a pretty prolific returner. They even had Deebo Samuel returning punts, which doesn't make sense because your two starting wide receivers should not be returning punts for any reason at all. But with that being said, our special teams has been okay. We wound up having Robbie Gold go down against the Packers, and we had to have Mitch Wisnowski out there kicking kicks, and that didn't necessarily pan out. But either way, we just did what we had to do. So I'm going to stop right here really quick. Got to give a shout out to the guys that support us. So, guys, if you like gambling out there, man, you got to definitely get online and go to mybookie.ag. When it comes to gambling, you always want to make sure you get the best bang for your buck. That's why you should bet with MyBookie. At MyBookie, you can bet on all your favorite sports with exclusive promotions, contests, and more to find your winning bet. Right now, when you make your first deposit with MyBookie, you'll instantly receive double your first deposit. So you put $1, they give you $1. You put $500, they give you $500. It's easy. All you have to do is go to mybookie.ag, sign up and use promo code HIVE. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE. And MyBookie will double your first deposit instantly up to $1,000. How's that for fast money? Use your extra funds to bet on this week's biggest games, including the battle between the Chiefs and the Titans, where Air Mail offense takes on Smash Mouth football. Look for the score to run up quickly. Bet the over. This promotion is only available for a limited time, so don't miss out. Head to mybookie.ag and use promo code HIVE, that's HIVE, and secure your double deposit bonus today. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, so you can double your funds to double your winnings. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. And with that being said, who is your X factor? Outside of Jonathan Taylor, because I know he's the X factor. But I'm looking for another guy that's going to do it for the Colts on offense, and who will be your X factor on defense as well.
Okay. Well, then I got to go Carson Wentz, because you live and die by your quarterback. So, and I think he has a really good chance to have another really good game. So I think he's definitely going to be an X factor there. If he can stay upright, I think the Colts have a really good shot in this game. Sorry, I'm still here. I think my battery died.
It's okay.
For defense, I'll just leave it like that. There we go. For defense, I'm definitely going to go. Ooh, this is a good one. Can I go to Forrest Buckner? Is that copping out?
You can. No, that is not a cop out, man. The only reason I said the reason I said no Jonathan Taylor, because we already know that dude is an amazing guy. I just wanted to know if there's anybody else that you saw.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to go, DeForest Buckner. He even said, and when they asked him, he said, yeah, it's a little bit of a personal game for me. So, I mean, you never know with these revenge games how it's going to go. But I feel like Buckner's the type of guy that's very capable of getting a multi-sack game. So I think he could be definitely a big factor in this game for sure. And if he can get going and get some of his pass rush going, I mean, I think that could be a really, really big factor into this game.
Yeah, man, I have to agree with you. Those are definitely some good X factors for me. In this game, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give myself an X factor of Fred Warner on defense.
Okay.
A lot of 49er fans have been saying that Fred's, not been playing the same since he got paid and all this other stuff. I don't see a drop off in Fred Warner's game. The man has been a monster all year, and he's been fantastic. And then on offense, I'm going to go with both of our running backs, Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell will be getting the bulk of the carries and the bulk of the practice time and when we're practicing as far as that goes. So we haven't seen much of Trey Sermon. But here's the thing. If you have a 1-2 punch when it comes to a running back, why not use it? If Nyheim Hines is running great and so is Taylor, why not mix it up? Hey, I'm going to hit you with Jonathan Taylor. Boom, he's going to do this. Now I'm going to hit you with Nyheim Hines, who's even harder to tackle. And same thing for us on the flip side. We want to be able to mix it up with a good dose of Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell to be able to allow our offense to start with the run, because Kyle Shanahan's offense, the way it works is everything is done off of the run to go to the pass. So if that run game gets moving properly, you'll start to see different passes and Jimmy G be able to move and function more. And what Kyle does with Jimmy is he protects him a lot. He gives him simple throws to get him into a rhythm. Then he starts to expand and open up on the playbook. And he starts to go to different people and start moving the ball around, and you'll see that. But if our run game doesn't necessarily get going and Jimmy has to pass, you're right. This game possibly could wind up as a fourth L in a row for us, man. And that's going to suck. And that's going to start, begging the question of what's going on in 49er land. And we already have as many conspiracy theories as you can think of as it pertains to, what happened with us, what's going on, and why, Kyle is doing certain things. We've had some interviews with him and John Lynch that have just been some more fluff and subpar as it pertains to, them being asked certain questions. And, one thing that you learn just in life is body language. If you see a guy, you're saying to yourself, you're saying to yourself, you ask him questions, he's looking away, he's fidgeting, he doesn't sit still, all these things. You're like, okay, this guy's lying. My grandfather taught me at a very young age, when you meet a man, you shake their hand, you give them a firm handshake, and you look them directly in their eye. It's just a form of respect from you to them and from them to you. And it's kind of like, certain things like that. When you see it from your head coach, Kyle, he gets real, pissy with the media. He doesn't like talking to him. Of course, you don't want to play your hand and say everything you're going to do, but you kind of give it a little bit, it's a give and take. John Lynch, he's always, we like the guys that we have, and, we're comfortable with where we're at. And, Jimmy's been playing at a high level, and I'm looking like, what have you been watching? Because Jimmy hasn't been playing at nothing. When we needed a shot in the arm in the Green Bay game, we threw Trey Lance there. That's the only reason we went down 17-7. Mm-hmm. And even in the Cardinals game, the defense is playing their heart out. The Seahawks game, defense is playing their heart out. So it's like you're looking at these moments and you're saying to yourself, this is really frustrating for the defense to keep balling the way they have, because they have been our strong suit this year. Our offense has not necessarily been the strong suit. I know we put up 41 in the first week, but since then we haven't gotten near that number there. I know we put up 28 against the Pack, but after that, it's been subpar. So, the end result for us is get that run going, the pass will get going, and that's how we win. So from me to you, what would be your end result to the game? What would be your focal point?
Like, are you talking score prediction or are you talking just
score prediction?
Gotcha. Oh man, this is a tough one. It's just, both these teams I feel like just pick and choose when to show up, and they pick and choose when to not show up. But saying that, it's hard because I feel like somebody's going to call me a homer no matter. Yeah, if I pick the Colts, they're going to call me a homer.
Let me tell you this: don't you predict what you predict. I've had people come on my show and predict their team losing. I've had people come on my show and predict their team winning. You pick whatever you feel is going to work for you. I'm not calling you a homer. Heck, man, there's a small piece of me that feels we could lose this game. So by all means, you say what you feel is best for your team and what you really think.
Yeah, so I do think that the Colts are, they started off pretty slow. I do think this is kind of the stretch where they can actually get back on track a little bit. Saying that, now that I think if Jimmy G's out there, I give the Colts a little bit better chance, honestly, to win this game. So I'm going to go, this is tough. I think I'll go 28-20. I'm going to go Colts. But I think it could be a tight game for a while. I really do. And maybe the game's a lot closer than that. I don't know. It's really a toss-up. It depends which Colts team shows up. And if it's the Colts team from a week ago, okay, we're a little bit better. But if it's not, we're in trouble then. If it's the Baltimore Colts defense from a couple weeks ago, yeah, you guys are going to have a field day against us. So it could be a shootout. Yeah, it really just does depend. But I do think it'll be a little bit of a higher scoring game. Just because you guys are going to be able to run the ball on us a lot. But I think 28-20 is going to be my prediction.
Okay. I respect that, and I respectfully disagree. Oddly enough, you have the 28 is where I was headed, but that's for us, and I give you guys 24.
Okay.
I had us winning, but I had us winning by a narrow margin. And the reason that I have us winning by a narrow margin because our offense, unfortunately, has been very stagnant, and they have not been giving our defense a lot to play for. The defense continued to go win week in and week out and slow down any offense that comes in their way. I know we look bad against Green Bay, but Aaron Rodgers literally said, they said, well, what was the game plan? And he said, throw it to Tay. And it's like, damn, the guy literally just blatantly said, throw it to Tay, and that's what he did. So, it kind of hurts, but like I said, once again, that's Aaron Rodgers, and I like what he did against the Bears when he told the fans, "I own you." When you're 22-5, you get to say that. You just do, And I remember years ago when you guys had Peyton Manning. I remember a certain Achilles heel, and his name was Ty Law.
Oh yeah, unfortunately,
I don't know what it was when he played Ty Law, but for some ungodly reason, Ty Law had his number.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was definitely frustrating, but I'm going to go 28-24 to 49ers. Okay. I think we can go ahead and pull this W off. I think, as you stated, we should be able to get our run game going and get it going heavy. And as long as we mix it in with the 1-2 punch and we don't overwork Elijah Mitchell, I think it'll work out a lot better rather than us, kind of running the ball strictly with him and not necessarily, moving in and out, because that's where Kyle really makes his bread and butter, is if he's able to mix in different backs and give you a change of pace. Sermon's our bruiser, our banger. He likes to go up the middle and hit you in the mouth. And, Elijah Mitchell's got that home run speed. If he gets out there in the open, good luck catching him, because just as much as we're going to have a hard time catching Taylor if he takes off, is a hard time catching Elijah Mitchell with the same exact situation. Other than that, what is your outlook on the rest of the season for the Colts? How are you feeling? Is it more so I'm going to take it game by game, or can you kind of look a little further into the future, into a proverbial crystal ball, and say, I feel like this is where we're going to be?
Yeah, it's so tough, especially with the injuries. I think if the Colts are relatively healthy, I think I'm cautiously optimistic. for them because it seems like they've started to figure out the quarterback position started to work out a little bit more. Wentz has looked good, and they've actually been able to protect him, like I said. And I feel like, if you can get that right, that's the hardest thing to get right as your quarterback. And you know that, having Jimmy G and Trey Lance. So I feel like if Wentz can continue to do what he's doing, the Colts have a chance to really be in any game with any team. So saying that, I look at their schedule over here, and if they can win on Sunday night, I feel like they have a really good chance to potentially go on a winning streak and potentially, maybe take back that AFC South. I really think they have a chance. They have some ground to build to gain, but I do think they have an opportunity over these next couple of weeks. And if they can't capitalize, then there may need to be some changes, honestly. It's come to that point, I think, in the season where you're in year 4, year 5, and you're like, okay, we need to actually see results now. And
and we feel the same way when it comes to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, man. We're in year 5, and results have to be taken. So it looks like you guys basically are 2 games back of the Tennessee Titans. And your division is honestly still winnable. Our division, on the other hand, it's a little farther out of reach for us. We got the Cardinals 6-0. We got the Rams at 5-1. I was really begging on you guys, kind of doing us a favor there and taking care of the Rams because you gave me a hell of a game either way. But man, it's your division is definitely still winnable. Like it's being 2 games back is a lot better than being 4 games back and another 3. And with the Rams and the Cardinals on their winning streaks as they are, man, it don't look too good for us. We're lucky that Russell got hurt in Seattle. Otherwise, they probably would be rolling as of right now. So we look to at least try to find our way into a wild card. If anything outside of a wild card is a long shot for me as far as the seasonal outlook because of the way that the offense has been playing. But either way, man, I appreciate you taking the time out. Please go ahead and plug any and everything you have. Let everybody know where to find you. If I got a couple of Colts fans that come back and eventually watch the video, I want them to be able to find their way to you. I did let everybody know that you are with the Bring the Juice podcast, but by all means, go ahead and give them everything.
Yeah, so Bring the Juice, you can find it. If you just type in Colts podcast, we'll show up. You basically can find us anywhere. You can listen to us anywhere, with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all those things, everything in between. You can find us, just search Bring the Juice, and you'll find us there. As far as social media is concerned, you guys can find me at CP Felger 55. You can find the podcast at BTJ Pod on Twitter. Those are both on Twitter. You can also find the podcast on Instagram, same handle. And that's about it. But I appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking the time to come out and bless me with your presence, sir. Good luck in the game. Good luck in the rest of the season. For you, I'm going to say the same thing that you're probably saying to me. I'm praying that Carson Wentz stays healthy.
Yes.
Seriously. I hope that he stays healthy. This may sound wrong, but I'm hoping that Jimmy G gets injured, so Trey Lance has to play. That's just me. That's what I want in your situation. You want Carson to stay on the field because he's going to give you a lot more, man. When healthy, Carson Wentz is a viable quarterback. In the last couple of healthy seasons, he did what he did. Everybody gives Nick Foles the credit because he won the Super Bowl, and he did that. But they weren't in the playoffs if Carson doesn't take the Eagles there.
Absolutely.
He did that. So thank you so much, Cody, for coming on and hanging out with me. Thank you, everybody, for paying attention and watching. I will definitely be back with a after show. And Cody, if you ever need me for anything 49ers, you're more than welcome to hit me up as well. I'm good with going on. I went on a Raiders podcast in the preseason with about 6 different Raiders, and I was the only Niner. So I'm more than happy to go where the odds are uneven. It's perfectly fine. It's all football. It's all good time, all good back and forth banter. Thank you so much for having for coming on to the show, and appreciate you, sir.
Yes, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. You guys have yourselves a wonderful day. Stay faithful, stay blessed. Me